Earlier this summer, the Department of Justice informed Texas that 4 of their districts violated the Voting Rights Act and they were unconstitutional coalition districts. Therefore, Texas Governor Greg Abbott called a special session of the state Congress to discuss and vote on a new redistricting map. Democrats ran away, accusing Republicans of gerrymandering while claiming they were fighting for democracy. However, the places those Democrats ran to and the politicians who defended them exposed the real truth of their motives, fears, and who is really abusing gerrymandering. Rosie the Riveter here, dropping more truth bombs to destroy fake news and propaganda. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to get new videos when they are uploaded. Now let's get into today's riveting topic. Earlier this month, Texas state Democrat leaders fled town, proudly posting TikTok and Instagram and YouTube videos of themselves right before getting on their chartered planes on the tarmac. They left town to prevent a quorum, resulting in the legislative body unable to move forward on voting on redistricting maps, accusing Republicans of trying to steal congressional seats. But let's peel back a layer or two and see what truths and facts lay underneath the mainstream media narrative and where the abuse really comes from. Democrats claimed they were saving democracy, but since the voters put the Republicans in charge, I'm not sure how denying those elected officials the ability to do what the constituents elected them to do is democracy. Likewise, since we're actually a republic, the Democrats are denying Texas Republicans their duty to represent their constituents. So either way, Democrats are working against Texas voters. I believe it shows Democrats are not actually concerned about legitimate Texas citizens. What they care about is power. Power they have been usurping with the use of illegal immigrants they purposely allowed to invade our country. But even more so, what they are really upset about is the Republicans are countering the corrupt gerrymandering Democrats have been using to gain and maintain power for decades. The term gerrymandering comes from a political cartoon in the response to Massachusetts Democratic Republicans redistricting their congressional seats in their favor in 1812. Eldridge Gerry, a founding father, was governor at the time and signed the legislation. Gerry was a signer of the Articles of Confederation, the Declaration of Independence, and the Constitution, and his anti-federalist pushback led to the Bill of Rights, ensuring self-evident individual rights to every American while limiting the government's reach. He also served as a member of the House of Representatives, governor of Massachusetts, and the U.S. Vice President under James Madison. In response to Gerry signing the legislation, the Federalist newspaper, called the Boston Globe, published a political cartoon depicting one district in an odd salamander shape, receiving the term gerrymander, which over the years was then pronounced gerrymandering. Ever since, members of both parties have used the practice, with the Supreme Court ruling in 2019 that political redistricting is legal. We may not like it, but it is allowed to an extent. I'm not denying Republicans do it, but I'm not going to let Democrats and the media lie about what they are so upset about and distort what they themselves are doing. For example, as Democrats pointed the finger at the Republicans, they fled to Illinois, the epitome of gerrymandering, who welcomed their comrades with open arms. Dems also went to New York and Massachusetts, the birthplace of gerrymandering. Check out the results from the 2024 election in Illinois by county, where Trump received 43% of the votes. Now look at their districting map. Virtually 47% voted Republican for U.S. representatives, yet they only received 3 out of the 17 seats available, or just 17%. Notice all the blue districts that overpower strong red counties? Here is an Illinois map from 1970 and one from today. Do you notice the logical, somewhat block-shaped districts of 1970 as compared to the crazy odd-shaped districts today, including number 13, a blue district that splits a red district almost in half, with 17 winding all around? As Mark Weimiller points out, the districts are carefully crafted to ensure a Democrat would win a majority of the state. Now, do you really think this is only happening in Illinois? And is Illinois really as blue as they tell us it is? Democrats are not hysterical because Texas Republicans are doing something wrong. They're going berserk because the Republicans are finally playing within the boundaries of the legal political game. And the Democrats are terrified of losing everything they've already grossly manipulated. To address the accusations of hypocrisy, Stephen Colbert invited Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker on The Late Show to discuss gerrymandering. To everyone's surprise, Colbert showed how bad Illinois' districts really are. With an obviously coordinated joke, the governor diverted from his state's indisputable gerrymandering by adjusting the narrative to demean the Republicans' timing. Those truly paying attention saw completely through the deflection.
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, and that's the nonpartisan group that does this
Absolutely.
for you guys?
That's our independent commission, you know. That is, yeah. I mean, look.
So because all states, to a certain extent, do this, why is what Texas doing particularly egregious in this case?
Well, here, every 10 years we do a census in this country, and right after the census, we redraw districts in every state. But what the Republicans are trying to do, and the Texas Republicans, frankly, at the behest of Donald Trump, are doing it mid-decade. That is extraordinarily rare.
Some did a little deeper digging and discovered this truth. Did you know Barack Obama gerrymandered his district in 2001 to keep hold of his state Senate seat? ProPublica wrote a piece about it in 2012 entitled Obama's Gerrymander. President Obama may have propelled his political career forward by gerrymandering a Chicago district to include rich supporters. In 2000, Obama primaried Illinois U.S. Representative Bobby Rush and not only lost, Rush's campaign harmed Obama with voters so badly he was afraid of losing his state Senate seat. Therefore, Obama took things into his own hands to make sure that that did not happen. Larry Elder explained it more in a recent op-ed. So what did Obama do? He examined the election results and proceeded to gerrymander his state Senate seat to guard against losing it. He reduced the number of those who voted against him and increased the number of those who did. In short, Obama rejected the notion that voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around. Fellow Illinois Democrat John Kerrigan, who worked with Obama to redraw Obama's district, not only called it a radical change, he added Obama's new district was wealthier, whiter, more Jewish, less blue-collar, and better educated. It also included one of the highest concentrations of Republicans in Chicago. In short, Obama made his district more white, more wealthy, more Jewish, and more interestingly, less black. With careful balancing, he also made sure to cancel out a large segment of Republican votes so as to ensure a Democrat seat while denying the Republicans one. That is gerrymandering, folks. When asked about his newly designed state Senate seat, Obama was dismissive. The system of redistricting in the U.S. tends to allow representatives to choose people instead of people choosing representatives. It's just politics. However, by 2022, Obama was completely against gerrymandering. 3 years ago, I helped Eric Holder launch All on the Line, a people-powered campaign to fight gerrymandering and advocate for fair redistricting. All on the Line is driven by the core belief that voters should choose their representatives, not the other way around. You remember Chicago's Eric Holder, right? Obama's Attorney General who said,
"It is time for us as Democrats to be as tough as they are, to be as dedicated as they are, to be as committed as they are. Michelle always says, Michelle Obama, I love her, you know. She and my wife, like, really tight, which always scares me and Barack. But Michelle always says that, you know, when they go low, we go high. No. When they go low, we kick them.
This is the guy we're supposed to trust to do fair, balanced, impartial, and constitutional redistricting? The guy who in the same minute said gerrymandering is a threat to democracy before stating we have to gerrymander to save democracy. Knowing Obama rigged his 2004 state Senate election through gerrymandering, it makes his recent post claiming this, quote, power grab undermines democracy, makes it quite disingenuous. It seems like whatever they accuse Republicans of trying to do, it's what they are already actually doing. Democrats and the media are aggressively pointing the finger at Republicans, claiming Illinois is an exception. But there's a pesky little thing called facts that say otherwise. Here is a list of some of the bluest states, what percentage of their citizens vote Republican, and what percentage of representatives are Republican. Notice several of these states have well over 30% Republican voters, and they have no Republican representatives. This is mathematically impossible in those places with multiple seats available, like in Massachusetts and Connecticut. We've always accepted that all New England states are solid blue, but there are millions of Republicans living in those states. Why do they not have any representatives? Also notice in most of the others shown here, the Republican representation is barely half of its Republican voter population. Squad member Anaya Presley added her 2 cents into the conversation, claiming Texas Republicans' redistricting map is a cowardly, undemocratic power grab. Interesting comment from someone whose congressional district looks like this. Then you have has-been Beto O'Rourke, who is trying to remain relevant by making his rounds again, this time saying the quiet part out loud.
I also don't want Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker and Kathy Hochul and any other Democrat who has unitary power in their state to wait for Texas to go first. I want us to seize the initiative instead of awaiting the punch thrown by these would-be fascists to hit us in the face and then respond. I want us to punch first, and I want us to punch harder. So I want them to redraw those districts right now.
O'Rourke called on blue states to redistrict before Texas could do it. Apparently, he wants Pritzker to take away the 3 Republicans they've been able to keep, and I guess 9 out of 52 representatives in California is still unfair? Which is interesting because if Texas hadn't succeeded in redistricting and those blue states had, who really is the abuser here? But as I've shown, they have already gerrymandered blue states to the hilt, and all he's really doing is running cover for the quickly shrinking Democrat base for what they've already done in the Democratic Party. Maryland Governor Wes Moore recently announced that he will be looking to redistrict his state. Out of their 8 representatives, did you know only 1 is a Republican? This is a state that had 34% voting Republican in 2024, but only has 12% Republican representation. He wants to redistrict the state to make it more fair. The only way it could happen is if Republicans got more seats in Maryland. But do you think that is going to happen? Even the governor of Massachusetts came out and said her state will look into redistricting because of Texas. Problem is, none of the Massachusetts 9 representatives are Republican. So it doesn't matter how they divide up the districts, they won't change anything. The Democrats in California's Congress actually took action redrawing districts and trying to shove through a vote without any discussion. Governor Newsom is heading the charge, despite it violating California's Constitution. They are panicking, and it is showing.
We are in a basketball game right now, if you'll excuse the metaphor, where the refs have left the arena, and the other side is just clobbering the shit out of us, just punching us in the face, kicking us in the nuts, and we're kind of throwing our hands up, and we're asking the crowd, the people of America, hey, do you see what's going on here? This is unfair. This isn't the rules that we agreed to play by. Well, who cares about the rules right now? Punch back, kick back, dunk over their heads, and win some power.
And there you have it, folks. That's what this is all about. Power. They don't care about you. They don't care about blue cities are overrun with crime. They don't care our children are being raped, murdered, and trafficked by illegal cartel thugs. They don't care that they're dying by fentanyl. All they want is the power, and they aren't even hiding it anymore. Ronald Reagan easily won California's governorship in 1966 and 1970, serving for 8 years. In 1980 and 1984, Ronald Reagan again comfortably won California for the presidency. Republican Arnold Schwarzenegger, a legal immigrant from Austria, won the governorship in California in 2003 during a recall and elected in 2006 for a full term. Just look at the county maps in all of these elections. That's a pretty red state. In fact, just last year, Trump received close to 40% of the vote in California. But Republicans still only have 23% representation in the House. So how did this once pretty red state flip to a solid blue state? They flooded it with illegals and they manipulated the districts. There was actually a 3% upswing in Republican votes in 2024, yet they lost 3 seats in the House. Does that really seem logical? The truth is, Democrats have already overtaken California and New York, and their 54 and 28 electoral votes, respectively. They've been trying to turn Texas blue for decades, so as to guarantee Texas's 40 electoral votes. If that happens, then we will not have a Republican president ever again, as these 3 states alone get a candidate almost halfway to the 270 electoral needed votes for presidency. Texas Democrats are furious because the Republicans are stepping in and stopping the takeover. Did you notice that California Governor Gavin Newsom has put way more time and energy these last few weeks in attacking President Trump and trying to redistrict his state than he did these last 9 months for all the people who lost their homes at the beginning of the year to massive fires? Those Californians are still waiting for help and for permission to rebuild. In fact, fires are again raging through California and the West. And where's Newsom? In his studio, tweeting and podcasting about Trump. Democrat leaders show us time and time again, they don't give a rip about the American people. They only care about themselves and their power. But gerrymandering, not redistricting, is only part of the voter fraud trifecta. Per the Constitution, after a census is taken, which occurs every 10 years, states must review the results and adjust their congressional districts to reflect their current populations. Most do it within a year or 2 of the census, but some states do allow more time, and we're finding out why that's a good thing. In 2022, reports were released revealing how distorted the 2020 census results truly were. The 2020 post-enumeration survey revealed significant errors in the 2020 census count. As a result, certain states will be shorted in their congressional representation until after the 2030 census, while other states will get more representation than they are entitled to. Congress should investigate the 2020 census to find out the cause of these errors and mandate changes to minimize, if not eliminate, problems in the future counts. An effective investigation should determine why there were no such statistically significant errors in the 2010 census in contrast to the 2020 census. Congress should determine if federal funds should be distributed based on the correct PES numbers, which require an examination of the accuracy of the PES methods. As I've explained before, history shows such manipulation to gain representatives is nothing new. When the Constitution was being written, delegates from southern slave-owning states wanted slaves counted in the census, even though they were not considered citizens or had any representation in Congress. Why? Because those states would benefit from the increased population, giving them not only more representatives in the House, but more electoral votes for the president. Northern free states rejected their power grab, saying if they did not have representation, they should not be counted. The 3/5 clause was a compromise between the North and the South regarding the census. Why do you think the Democrats were so insistent that illegals be counted in the 2020 census? They cannot vote even though thousands have been found on the voter rolls. They don't have representation in Congress, and those who do cater to illegals, especially over the well-being of American citizens, are, well, aiding and abetting foreign entities. That's treason, folks. Massachusetts Governor Myra Healey is giving $30,000 to every illegal immigrant family when they move to the state. Likewise, Illinois Governor Pritzker is giving free handouts to illegals, as well as Democrats in New York and California who bend over backwards to protect illegals. If you listen to their speeches, they all say they are working for their constituents. They aren't lying. They are using illegals for positions, votes, and power while ignoring and working against the American people. Analysis of the 2020 census proves seats in the House of Representatives were stolen for a particular party, which also included extra electoral votes that were used to try to affect the 2024 election. After the Civil War, black men began to be elected to the U.S. House and Senate, and every last one of them did it as a Republican. Once Reconstruction ended and the Democrats started to regain power in their state Congresses again, they gerrymandered their districts to get rid of all those black Republican elected officials. They don't care about the black man. They care about having a permanent underclass that they can manipulate and use for votes, seats, and power. It's why they argued that the slaves were needed to pick our cotton and the illegals are needed to pick our corn.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
The Democrats are not calling for blue states to gerrymander in response to Texas to even out the process. They are panicking because all the gerrymandering they have already done in red states is being undone, and they are watching their power disappear in real time. White House advisor Stephen Miller drops the truth.
Illinois, Chicago, New York, Massachusetts. Democrats have gerrymandered the vote beyond recognition to try to maintain their advantage in the House elections. On top of that, let's not forget, Democrats rigged the 2020 census by including illegal aliens. Remember, they sued Donald Trump. They sued the administration. They fought tooth and nail to include illegal aliens in the census. 20 to 30 of House Democrat seats wouldn't exist but for illegal aliens. Texas is taking just a small corrective step against this ocean of fraud, this ocean of abuse by the corrupt Democrat Party, Sean. And then on top of that, of course, you have a situation where even though Republicans won a landslide in the House popular vote, Democrats have so thoroughly rigged and gerrymandered and manipulated their districts beyond all recognition that Republicans only gained a 4-seat majority, despite winning a much smaller majority in the popular vote in 2010 and getting 63 seats. Remember the 2010 election? A much smaller popular vote majority produced 63 seats. So
now do you understand why Democrats took the Trump administration to court leading up to the 2020 census when Trump ordered it to include a citizenship question? The House voted last year to bring the citizenship question back, but the Senate has yet to act on it. However, because of all the irregularities, Trump ordered the new census to be taken before the 2030 election. Can you blame him? Because House districts are apportioned according to states' respective numbers, high immigration states could lose congressional seats and electoral votes if illegal immigrants are not counted in a census. If non-citizens had been left out of the 2020 census, California, Florida, and Texas would have each lost a congressional seat, and Alabama, Minnesota, and Ohio would have retained one seat each they otherwise would have lost, according to a Pew Research Center analysis. In 2018, Alabama filed a lawsuit against the Commerce Department and the Census Bureau, claiming that the state would lose a House seat and an electoral college vote if the 2020 census counted illegal immigrants. Congressional seats should be apportioned based to the population of American citizens, not illegal aliens, former Representative Mo Brooks said at the time. After all, this is America, not the United Nations. Actually, it might be time to revisit the 1929 Permanent Appointment Act, too, which capped the number of U.S. representatives at 435, and is becoming an issue as we have grown substantially in the past 100 years. Giving us more representatives might help us divide these areas up better. As we remove the illegal immigrant count from the 2020 census, we all need to watch how it affects the voting landscape of Massachusetts, New York, Illinois, California, and all the other deep blue states, as well as red states like Texas, Ohio, and Florida, which also have high numbers of illegals. By correcting these numbers, Democrats not only lose the ability to gain electoral college votes, their push to eliminate it for the national popular vote is also destroyed, as those registered migrants will not have access to a ballot. When you flood the country with illegals and adamantly refuse to allow voter ID, you can steal every single presidential election as well as many other federal and state elections forever. For years now, the Democrats have been insisting that they are saving democracy. However, the United States is not and never has been a democracy. Our founders refuted democracy as it is essentially mob rule. 50.1% can rule over 49.9% without any question. Minorities have no say and they become virtual slaves to the majority, whatever that majority is. But how do you ensure a 50.1 majority? You import them, you overwhelm the system with them, register them to vote, manipulate the system with them, and grab all the power you can. So Democrats are telling you the truth here. They are terrified of losing the democracy they have falsely created. If you take away the mechanisms of packing the system, then they lose their means of seizing and keeping power. They won't be able to steal seats in the House and therefore electoral college votes. They won't be able to ensure victories in elections and become a single-party rule. Too many are seeing these issues as one-off situations. We have a voter ID concern. We have an illegal immigrant issue. We need to address gerrymandering. The truth is, these things are all intimately connected. We must step back and see the forest for the trees because there's a lot more to this picture than meets the eye. Fortunately, the truth is starting to come out and people are starting to ask questions. The only way to get America back on track is with truth and transparency. I'm Rosie the Riveter, and that's my 2 cents. But what do you think? Leave your comments down below. If you enjoy my content, please consider supporting me on Patreon. You can find all my videos and my blog Liberating Letters at thefactspaper.com. You can also start your own research on the Facts Paper by exploring the thousands of links to articles I have, including those noted in my videos, sharing the truth fake news propagandists won't. Investigate and discover the truth for yourself.